Timcast IRL will be live in Miami with Patrick Bet David, Donald Trump Jr., Matt Gaetz, and Luke Rudkowski. Join us there. Get your tickets by clicking the link in the description below or by going to timcast.com. Let's jump to this story from the Post Millennial. This is huge. 3 men accused of Gretchen Whitmer kidnap plot acquitted. There you go. I mean, what more do you need? The last 3 men who were charged in the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer have all been found not guilty on all charges, by the way. William Knoll, twin brother Michael Knoll, and Eric Molitor were among the 14 charged in the alleged plot, and 3 have been acquitted. All 3 have been acquitted. Adam Fox and Barry Croft Jr. were convicted of kidnapping conspiracy in 2022. The 2 were also found guilty of conspiring to obtain a weapon of mass destruction, such as a bomb to destroy a bridge. It's such obvious BS. The general, let me break down for you how this works. The FBI finds some moron and then keeps whispering things to him like, don't you want to do this? Come on. Don't you want to do this? And they'll be like, no, not really. And they'll be like, come on, let's do it anyway. And they'll be like, no, not really. But just get in the car. And they'll be like, okay. He got in the car. That proves it. And then
this is happened in Ohio when I was living there in 2012. You can look this up. I mean, this is just like more corroborative evidence that this happens more than one. It's not like a one-off. 3 sentenced to prison for plot to blow up Ohio Bridge. They were given explosives, dummy explosives by FBI. Undercover FBI agents gave these 3 dudes fake explosives and apparently colluded with them.
It's the same as a controlled drug buy.
I want Donald Trump to criminally charge all FBI agents who participated in these conspiracies.
Yeah, but that's what the FBI does is they'll set you up like, oh, we have a cocaine dealer, and they'll set you up with the cocaine dealer, and the cocaine dealer's an FBI agent. So, I mean, it was all a setup. But we're never going to get any transparency with the FBI. I mean, I think that the FBI and CIA killed JFK. I mean,
I do not want Trump to go in and to be like, we're shutting it down, we're defending it. No, I want to be like, whoa, hold on. Yes, but first, audit and criminal indictments for any and all FBI agents who were party to criminal plots. And you know what? There's a lot of them we don't know about. So
there's thousands.
I'd imagine more. Yeah. Because you look at what happens with the Whitmer thing. How many times has the FBI engaged in a conspiracy to, say, kidnap a politician and then not convinced anyone to join them? So we pull up those records and we say, we got an agent, John Smith, right here. Looks like you engaged in a plot to arrest a mayor. To kidnap a mayor. And they'll be like, well, yeah, but we're doing a sting. Well, it says here, you were the one who initiated it. Put your hands behind your back. Shut your mouth. You have the right to remain silent. Lock them up.
That's hardcore, dude.
But, the men who were just, what were they, acquitted? They should be thankful that the jury was able to learn about these rogue FBI informants because most people in that position wouldn't have that.
Is what the FBI does.
Yeah.
So these guys have their lives dangling off the edge of a cliff while these FBI agents smirk and give the Kubrick stare and laugh about it. Yeah. I am done playing these games. This is abject evil. There is no legitimate reason for the FBI to make fake plots and then try and trick people to do them. It doesn't make sense. These guys, if they never met the FBI, would be sitting around drinking, talking smack, and they'd be worrying about football. Instead, the FBI comes in and goads them and coaxes them, gives them materials. This is what we see across the board with all these different plots. I say arrest and criminally charge, indict all of the FBI agents because they are party to the conspiracy.
Yep.
You can't, I think the law should even be amended that says you cannot charge someone under this law unless the plan was created outside of law enforcement. If law enforcement agencies create the plot, then that should be fruit of the poison tree, and none of these men should be able to be convicted.
That's like all sting operations.
No, it isn't. No, it's not.
I mean, maybe I'm using the wrong word.
I'll tell you this.
Not sting.
Here's what some of what the FBI has done.
Entrapment.
Well, entrapment is when you knowingly when the person is being forced to, like either by blackmail, extortion, or otherwise. But what the FBI has done, which is more questionable, but not in this territory.
Pretend to be a drug dealer?
No, they go to church. They go to mosques and they just hang out. And then they wait to see if anyone says anything and then they leave. And there are a bunch of stories where I've heard these stories, you can look them up, where there were imams in like Dearborn who reported the feds to the FBI immediately. When the guy came in and said, hey, here's what I'm thinking, they were like, oh, okay, have a nice day. And then immediately called the feds and said, this guy's crazy, get him out of here. And they were like, all right. They leave. That is bad. Those are crazy stories. That cop, that FBI guy should be arrested for doing that. But if all they do is, we are going to have a criminal informant tell us if something's going on, I got no problem with that, right? We want to stop legitimate acts of terror. What we do not want is the feds creating the plot and then trying to trick people into joining it. That right there, the moment it's discovered, wait, who came up with this plan? Agent Smith. Okay, charges dismissed, case closed. Men, you're all free to go.
Yeah, but Tim, Joe Rogan talks about it. You know this, and January 6th, we probably know this, is they have agent provocateurs where they can go in to a riot or to a protest and actually accelerate things, make things worse, and we never hold them accountable. And it's an actual crime to lie to an FBI agent.
What and even outside of the context of an investigation.
Yeah.
So Michael Flynn was criminally charged even though he wasn't being formally questioned.
That's ridiculous.
It's like you're hanging out at they were hanging out at like a dinner or something at the White House, and they were like, so tell me about this. And then he's like, oh, X, Y, and Z, and they're like, we got him. He just lied to us. That's it. Yep. You're
not even under formal investigation if you lie to an FBI agent.
I want to ask you, Alex, why how come Owen Schroyer is getting 60 days in jail? And the reason is the prosecution said he yelled death to tyrants. He said Democrats are tyrants, and he yelled death to tyrants. And Ray Epps, who quite literally said to go into the building several times, was charged with nothing. The argument made by the government was Owen Schroyer didn't go in to the Capitol, but he didn't need to. The people he was goading on did. Ray Epps is the guy who orchestrated, walked around saying to do it. What's going on?
Well, for me, the biggest red flag is when you see the New York Times and then you see Adam Kinzinger and you see all these left-wing people. Well, Adam Kinzinger, fake left-winger or fake right-winger or whatever you want to...
fake both.
Yeah, fake both. But my point is when the mainstream media is running cover for Ray Epps, that's the biggest red flag possible. That just makes it seem like, oh, this guy's definitely an agent provocateur. But with Owen, I mean, it's his connection to InfoWars. They have to take him down, and they were not going to give him probation. They have to send a message by making him go to jail. But what's ridiculous is Richard Barnett, he's the guy that put his feet on Nancy Pelosi's desk. I think he got 7 years.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in your 60s and you get 7 years, I mean, that's life. That's almost life.
Yeah.
And when these guys let them into the building.
Right. Yeah, I know. Those mag locks, you have to turn off those mag locks.
But the cops opened the door. There's video.
They opened those doors.
They gave them a tour of the Capitol.
Yeah,
they're walking
the QAnon
around.
shaman was just having a nice stroll through the
He was walking around confused, and the cops gave him directions and they opened the door for him. They were telling him where to go. But that's an inside job. And AOC is right when she said that some of these cops were in on it. I'm like, yes, I think the Republicans should start arresting all these cops. And I mean it 100%. What you need to do is stop allowing the frogs to boil, right? All of us are always sitting in this pot and it's slowly getting hotter so nobody moves. And then we go from, in 2018, there's some street fights, to in 2023, they've indicted the president 94 times, or there's 94 charges on several different indictments. They're arresting lawyers and journalists. And it's just like, okay, how do we get to this point? It's because it's incremental. Here's what you do, Republicans. Matt Gaetz, I'll ask them, they won't do it because they're like, oh, but we don't want to piss off cops. You immediately say, we are going to, we agree with Democrats. January 6th was a problem. Here's a video of the police letting them in and helping the QAnon shaman. These police aided and abetted the insurrection, and we need to get to the bottom of this. Subpoena the cops and then criminally charge them and make them go into the prisons with the J6ers. Each and every one, every single cop, especially the one who shot Ashley Babbitt. No questions. You should do it. And then what happens? Now you're going to have the Capitol Police going to Democrats being like, what did you do with this can of worms? Why are we involved in this? And there's not going to be a public, you get AOC on your side right away. The first thing I do is I go to AOC and say, how would you like to indict the cops who helped the J6ers? She's going to say yes. She's already on camera saying it's a problem. Then you put it in Pelosi's face and you put it in the Democrats' face being like, you're right. All of these cops that helped these people come in, we're going to lock them up too. Now you've created a problem for Democrats in that the press now becomes the Capitol Police that they championed, cherished, and celebrated are all going to jail too. Turn it back on them. Turn it back on them.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen. I mean, they would never. I mean,
well, it's not a question of never going to happen. I'm saying this is...
That's what it should be done. Yeah, no, yeah. I tend to agree with you. We should hold these people accountable.
The only thing that's going to stop this stuff, though, is I think is actually like abolishing bureaucracy. Get rid of the FBI. Or fire everybody there and then hire them again. How do you do that?
Because everybody says abolish the FBI. I agree. There's been a weaponization of our DOJ and all these 3-letter agencies, but how do you do that? I don't know that any president really could go in and actually do it.
Well, wasn't the FBI created by decree? Wasn't
I
it
don't know
DHS?
that they're going to be able to dismantle that. The last person who tried was shot in the head in Texas.
Well, what they're going to do is they're just going to have and I wouldn't be surprised if law enforcement, and this is probably not going to happen very soon, but just like with COVID, how we had the contact tracing apps, they're going to have like law enforcement contact tracing apps. Or the phone, they're going to be able to look in your phone. They're going to know if you're doing anything illegal. They're going to know, artificial intelligence will be able to scan your text messages, listen to your phone calls. So we won't even need the traditional cops like you think. You know, we'll almost need like
and you
social
do
workers.
need. I mean, there are some good things that the FBI does. You know, stopping
There's nothing
child
good.
exploitation.
No.
You know,
well, they you know, didn't Tim Ballard?
Oklahoma City bombing, not good.
I think Ballard said he worked with FBI on trafficking stuff.
I'm not saying every FBI agent is bad, but I'm just the majority of their work is
it's just a bad organization.
Yeah.
The idea that the federal government needs to have a police force, like you can argue that the federal government needs to have a police force for like Secret Service to protect the president and maybe for Capitol Police and stuff like that, but the entire every state has state police and they're all capable of working together. They're all capable of sharing information. It is
but even
not
the state
necessary.
Police are a problem because who was enforcing all the COVID stuff?
Actually, everybody's saying you're a Fed in the chat.
Look, it's fine. You're right, and that's totally true. But again, it still decentralizes. The problem becomes the centralization of power in Washington. Everybody knows that Washington does not have the individual people or the state's best interests at heart. Washington is concerned with Washington, and that's the way it's always going to be as long as power is centered there. Now, I've heard people talk about moving bureaus and bureaucracies and stuff to other parts of the country, and maybe there's an argument for that. But really, just get rid of it. Get rid of it. Cut it out. Abolish it.
It's a good point that it's the danger is the organization of it itself.
Yeah.
The way it's organized. This centralization essentially of top-down authority that one guy, I don't know if it's Merrick Garland or who is he? He's not the head of the FBI.
He's the attorney general. He's not the head of the FBI, but he's the head of the Justice Department.
You get these tops giving all the soldiers basically their marching orders. So all these Capitol Police are told, let them in. We don't want them to break all the windows. Just open the doors and let them in. So the cops stand back. That's why according to how you were saying, Tim, about arresting them, I tend towards like what they did to the Nazis is you arrest the ringleaders, you arrest the ones at the top, and then the other ones, they're basically going to be your soldiers.
Well, yeah, but there's videos of these cops opening the doors and saying, "Come on in." I think that if the Republicans right now, there's a video of this. Say, I want to know who those cops are. You bring them in for open public congressional testimony and say, why did you open the door and let them in? Let them say it on C-SPAN to be reposted and rebroadcast by everybody on Twitter. The officer says, we did open the doors. Then you can say, okay, the question now becomes, officer, you let them in. And some of these people have been in jail for 2.5 years. How much time in prison do you deserve for being the one who opened the doors? Let the public decide. Should these officers go to prison? Because if you say no, we must release the J6ers.
I'd be open to investigation because you could get those cops will be like, I was told by my commanding officer by name. He gives the name.
Bring them in and make them testify under oath.
It would be an easy chain of command to figure out how those doors got open. But I do want to congratulate the FBI on one thing, because they did great police work when they found 2 passports on 9/11 of the terrorists. They weren't able to find the black boxes, but they were able to find those passports. So that was
well. They got really lucky that they didn't get burned up in the explosion.
I know, thank goodness.
It must have fallen out of the plane before it hit the building because they found it a couple blocks away.
No, it could get blown. It could be blown.
It can be blown in a wind.
I mean, a lot of debris went very, very far.
That's true. They were blown out the sides of the buildings. A lot of that debris.
Oh, I mean, in the initial crash, debris was launched like hundreds of yards. It's crazy. But they were just lucky that they didn't.
Yeah, the passport just went through the nose cone of the building, and then 2 blocks down the street.
No, he must have thrown it out the window.
You know why I'm really impressed with that? Because I lose my passport all the time.
Yeah, we need
in my own house.
You just need to hire an FBI agent. They come and find it for
you. That's not a good thing to lose.
Dude, what?
No, but like I'll put it. I'll put it in the safe or something. And then we'll travel, so I'll take it out, and then we'll put it in a suitcase, and then we'll come back and put the suitcase in the room, and then I'll be like, "Wait, was it in the bag or was it in?" Oh, and I got to tear the whole bag open. And I'm like, "No, I put it back in the shelf." Then I'll open, and there it is. But it's hard sometimes because I don't use it that often.
Well,
right?
call your FBI agent; they'll know. Your FBI agent
maybe they could work with that because they weren't able to find the swatters who swatted us 15 times. But anyway, back
abolish
to
the FBI.
Back to the main point. When I think about things like this, like, hey, bring in these cops and have them testify. How come nothing like this ever happens? Even when it comes to impeachment, it is the most mundane and predictable thing you can expect from the GOP. There's evidence that's been around for years that we've known about with Hunter Biden. In 2019, Politico wrote Biden Inc. We have that all of it laid out by a journalist. And now 4 years later, it's like, let's ask this question. It's like, where's anyone to be like, I am going to file a subpoena for all of the police officers and make them come testify? I really don't think anyone ever does anything. It's so boring. I mean, I don't understand this, man. About anything in life. I just don't understand why nobody does anything. And I'm gonna say this to the extreme. I mean this in the most literal sense, to the most extreme degree. No one does anything. Now I'll clarify what I mean by that, because obviously we all do different things. But I mean, there are prominent, powerful people with lots of money who you'll hear complain and then do literally nothing.
Because you answered it, because they're powerful, prominent people with lots of money.
That's my point.
That's why they don't do anything, because they want to continue being prominent, powerful people with lots of money.
You don't lose that from
absolutely lose.
Elon Musk does stuff.
He's an anomaly. Absolute anomaly.
And that's my point. So like, and he's, I think it's massively beneficial for him. I mean, granted,
not really. He's getting sued. Yeah, that's what they're coming after.
Now they're coming after him. DOJ's coming after Elon too, but they don't do anything because it's not. They don't want to. They'd rather go on the news and line their pockets and increase their net worth by $100 million.
What do they do?
I think they should be sent to the barracks
NPCs.
when they serve in office.
They're NPCs,
and they're not allowed to leave. They should be in the barracks.
They are NPCs, and I tell you this because I know people who go on more adventures and take more risks who are lower income than wealthy individuals in this country and in this world. Yep. There's very few people who are willing to take large, ridiculous risks in order to affect some kind of positive change. And it's like, off the top of my head, who can I even think of? Elon? That's maybe it.
Vivek.
Vivek, good point.
But even he had, I mean, I like Vivek, but I mean, he even had a pharmaceutical deal that went bad. So, I mean, he's not.
No,
the deal went good. In terms he made a lot of money.
Yeah, he went good.
In terms of doing crazy stuff, like big, boisterous things, like Vivek is.
He's doing something. If he's saying he's going to end the FBI, he's basically putting himself in JFK's position.
Oh, I love it. I think he's
that's
great.
taking a huge risk.
Just so we are clear, Tim is not saying that he loves the idea of Vivek being in JFK's position specifically. Just want to throw that out there. He would
do that. And then he's not in JFK's position. We're a different place and time.
I love that he's stepping up and saying, I am willing to put my face out there with these statements, taking all the risks that come along with it because it's the right thing to do.
Yes.
Well, after this pandemic, and
I have an idea.
Okay, let's hear it.
I just want to hire 100 clowns to like run around Vegas.
Well, I'm clown pilled.
I'm into it. I don't even know why.
Everyone's going to think they were the hackers.
Well, how about Alex, we get you 100, maybe 1,000. We hire 1,000 clowns.
Extras, yes.
And they just will do what you ask them to do.
They'll put an FBI informant in it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I know. And then they go blow up a building and say it's
Tim blew up doing a street show like Oprah did.
Some horror movie with
Let's have them go to DC, the clowns, and then we'll put little signs that say meet a senator.
Remember when Oprah had the I Got a Feeling song and it turned out everyone in the audience were actually dancers?
Yeah,
I'm talking about having clowns do a street show to like be comedic and generate attention on some issue. You guys go to dark places with this stuff.
Yeah, Inside Job, 9/11.
A bunch of clowns is going to be like, it was worse than January 6th. The clowns stormed the building.
The makeup was terrible.
I want to make this point though. Is this sounds so bad, and I hope it doesn't get me in trouble, but I've lost almost all faith in humanity after the pandemic. Like, I think the bigger the group gets, the dumber it gets. So that's why, like, I'm almost empathetic to the elites that don't want to interact with us.
Oh, dude, I totally get where Bill Gates is coming from.
I'm saying I get where Bill Gates. He's like, just give them all a vaccine. Shut up. Just go about your business.
No, hold on. Anybody who's run a large company understands the frustrations of what can go wrong will go wrong, and like running this company, there are things that happen where it's like I am genuinely shocked that something happened. Like, I don't understand how explicit instructions of take A to B and then do C turns into X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, how did this happen? And no one has an answer. And I'm like experiencing that. I'm like, so now I get it. Bill Gates with his, how many 100,000 employees, at a certain point, his eyes are bleeding. They're bloodshot. And he's like, why did you put the mop in the server room? And it's just like, I don't know, sir. And he's like, ah! And then his head explodes.
Because most humans, I hate to admit it, we're all kind of dumb. I bet if you asked 10 people on the street, 80% probably wouldn't know who Kamala Harris is. Probably two
Oh,
people
no,
would
I
know.
agree.
I mean, the majority wouldn't. So people are just not dialed in. They're in debt. They're, you know, have an ex-girlfriend, baby mom, or whatever. Just they're not dialed into what's really happening in the world because they're so distracted. And we're all basically debt slaves just trying to make it.
I do. In all seriousness, I do think people like Bill Gates and a bunch of the other wealthy, powerful elites. I think if you were to talk to them, for one, they're Malthusian. They do think there's too many people, and they will legitimately tell you. I mean, I'm sure if you're hanging out at Bilderberg with a lot of these powerful international elites and politicians, they're going to say, look, man, think about how stupid the average person is. Okay, now realize half of them are stupider than that. And they vote. And that's like, so that's half of that. The first half was George Carlin. But that's probably what they're thinking. And they're thinking, we don't want stupid people to have political power. And so what do you get? Look at what's going on with everything politically in terms of abortion, sterilization, etc. This is not a detriment to conservatives who are more resilient, more self-reliant, and protective of their kids. It's mostly detrimental to urban liberals. The COVID lockdown policies mostly negatively impacted urban liberals. All the things we see, defund the police, bad for liberals. Conservatives, and then the people flee to more conservative areas where they can be more resilient and you know, resolved. And then it is the leftists who are suffering tremendously under their own policies that's resulting in them having less kids.
Yeah, I understand that, but you know, people having less kids is bad for society and civilization in general.
Yes, but if conservatives have twice as many kids, which they're probably going to start doing,
should.
then problem solved.
But we can never have more kids than Venezuela's having. I mean, they have a culture. I mean, seriously, they have a culture. I doubt they're doing a lot of abortion. So if they can just let people come in from other countries. My biological stepdad, Tucker Carlson, you know, gets a lot of heat for saying the Great Replacement Theory. But I don't know. It would be hard to debate that if you really look at our immigration policy.
This is a really good idea. Powder PZ says to send 100 clowns to DC, each with a senator's name and badge. And whenever they see the senator, they go there and they start dancing. And that's actually a really good idea to just have, like, you know, someone waits outside, and then when they see the senator walking to the car, the clown is behind camera going like,
that would be funny.
With kids and like the value of having children equating to like the species propagating, I wonder if there's got to be a diminishing return. I think that, like, yeah, you can have 4 kids. That's maybe better than having 3. But if you have 19 kids, you don't have time for 19 kids. A lot of those kids are going to grow up without a parent. So like that's worse.
I don't know that
sort
that's
of. The siblings help a lot.
Yeah,
in
and
those
also,
situations.
like in the past, like people, like families have had as many kids as they could in the, like, anticipating some of them dying off. So you can still manage to raise
like bees. That's what bees do.
I mean,
you know, they have a ton of babies, and then a bunch die, but some survive.
The point is, though, but like 100 years ago, families were much larger. Before any kind of birth control, people weren't like, no, we don't want to have sex because we might have kids. Like, they were still getting it on. And you had big families and stuff like that.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.